I'm Jennie Kim. I'm of Korean descent and I experience alcohol flush reaction.
Well, for those of us like me who have not experienced the alcohol flush reaction, can you describe it for us?
Basically, I get really warm and I turn bright red whenever I drink alcohol.
I see. Is it associated with any feelings of being sick?
I get a little bit queasy. I don't tolerate alcohol very well, and I really can't drink more than a couple of drinks at a time.
I see. So your tolerance then is maybe a little bit lower than other people of your same height and size.
Exactly.
Now, is this something that's common in your family?
It is. My dad also experiences alcohol flush reaction, and he really doesn't drink as a result.
Now, when did you first realize that you had this kind of alcohol flush?
It's kind of a funny story. My mom was looking through my Facebook party pictures back when I was in college, and one day she just sort of, as she was looking through them, looked up at me and said, "Why are you so sunburned in all your pictures?" And that's when I realized something was up.
I see. So it wasn't actually even, you noticed something about yourself as much as you felt a certain way. Maybe you didn't have anything to compare it to per se, like from a personal experience, and your mom sort of was like, "Wow, you look really red."
Yeah, my mom didn't understand because she herself does not have alcohol flush reaction.
I see. Now, does this mean that you have any personal genetic information about yourself or your family for this particular trait?
Yes, we've all used 23andMe.
Oh, you have. And what was your report for the ALDH2, the aldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme?
If I can remember correctly, my father and I only have one working copy of that gene.
I see. So you're heterozygous.
Yes.
So, wow. So that means we don't know who you inherited it from unless we know, is your mom, you said your mom does not have this?
No.
I see. So you know that you inherited this from your dad.
Definitely from my dad, yeah.
Wow. How does that make you feel?
I don't know, just empathetic, I guess, for my dad.
Do you consider this, a good or a bad trait at all, or a positive or a negative thing?
Well, it's funny that you asked that. I think if you'd asked me this back in college, I would have said it's definitely a negative thing. I wish I didn't have it. Then I could, have champagne all the time and it'd be awesome. But now I'm actually pretty grateful for it. First of all, it's good, I think, that it helps me be more aware of the impact that alcohol has on my body, which is generally a good thing for my health and well-being. And second, I actually kind of like, or at least appreciate, strangely enough, how that this reaction is somewhat socially embarrassing and awkward. I actually appreciate feeling bad about myself sometimes because that's why I'm funny.
And you raise an interesting point there, as someone who experiences alcohol flush reaction, and let's say someone watching this class maybe is only just discovering this for themselves. Is it an embarrassing feeling, or do people ever make fun of you for it, or?
Well, I think back when I started noticing it, I was much more self-conscious. I like to think, though, that people are too self-involved to really notice other people. At least I am. So I have become a lot more comfortable with that, and I also just don't care as much.
Yeah. So obviously the disadvantages of alcohol flush reaction are that you can feel kind of bad. You don't have that high of a tolerance, and there may be some kind of awkward social stuff occasionally. Are there any advantages besides the ones you mentioned about being more self-aware about yourself? Is there any kind of other advantage too?
I actually like the fact that it forces me to moderate my drinking and to be pretty judicious about drinking. I always have to ask myself, is this cocktail really worth it? I have a saying that I can either be drinking or I can be cute, but I can't be both at the same time. So I'll often just choose to be cute and just choose not to partake in alcohol at all. And as I'm getting older, I kind of appreciate that more, to have that choice, and I feel better, in the mornings than maybe some of my other friends would.
How do you think this particular trait of alcohol flush is seen culturally and socially by other people, even outside your own personal experience? How do you think it's portrayed?
I actually don't know. I've just never been on the other side of it. I imagine, again, that it's kind of like my mom. People would just ask, are you okay? Or are you sunburned? Or what happened there? But I don't know if people really are aware of it or, know that much about it. It usually helps when you're out drinking and getting this reaction that other people around you are also drinking. So maybe that also contributes to the fact that people are less aware.
Right. Have you ever felt pressured to drink even though you didn't want to specifically for this reason?
No, that's just not my nature in general. And my thinking is, as far as alcohol flush reaction is concerned, it's kind of like singing show tunes or getting sleepy. It's just something that happens naturally whenever I drink.
If you had the chance to change this trait about yourself, would you change it?
It's funny that you asked that. I mean, if you asked me the same question 10 years ago when I was still in college, I would have said yes, definitely, get rid of it now. Champagne for everyone. But today, I actually really appreciate it. I mean, first of all, I appreciate the fact that it forces me to moderate my drinking and to be more aware of the impact that alcohol has on my body. Second of all, I appreciate the kind of embarrassing effects that it has because, it forces me to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and feeling awkward. And also, I think it's important that alcohol flush, that I realize that this condition is completely under my control. If I don't drink alcohol, then I don't turn red. I just stay normal Asian colored, period. And that's a huge factor. I think it would be for me, it would be a lot more difficult if this was something that I had no control over. So, for example, like asthma attacks or seizures or allergies or things that, you might not have control over the stimulus and the reaction. To me, that would be a lot more debilitating. So for me, this is not that big of a deal.
What about any kind of medication, for lactose intolerance and people who actually whose bodies don't metabolize lactose very easily? They can actually take a bioactive form of lactase, which allows them to digest dairy products. Is there anything like that for alcohol flush reaction that you know of?
There's kind of this over-the-counter remedy that a lot of my Asian peers and I have discovered. It's just an over-the-counter antacid or acid-reducing pill, which I used to call the anti-Asian pill. And I used to take that when I drank. But later I found out that research showed that it actually isn't good for you to suppress your body's symptoms as it processes this toxin. So I stopped taking it.
Wow, I did not know that. So what advice would you give to an individual who may be watching this for the first time, maybe discovering that they have alcohol flush reaction? Is there any important advice you would give that person?
Well, I tell this person, let's just call her 21-year-old Jennie Kim. I tell her, first of all, you're going to need a good full cover foundation that looks natural and also photographs well for those nights out when you'll be drinking. Makeup Forever makes a good one, number 173. It looks too dark in the bottle, but trust me, that's your shade. And then second, I would tell her, don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. Just be grateful that you aren't able to consume that much alcohol in one sitting. Use those calories for cheese fries instead, because that body is not going to keep itself. And finally, I would tell 21-year-old me that it's okay to feel embarrassed, because, it's embarrassing to look like a cherry Jolly Rancher next to your cute blonde friends at the club. Nobody wants to do that. But you know what? Life is embarrassing. Life is messy. Life is like your big red face. It's how you handle it that matters. And I could tell her right now that, while your cute blonde friends might stay perfect, they'll never be hilarious. And also stay away from gauchos, because that's not a good look for anyone.
Duly noted. I think that's good advice overall. Jennie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.